for Josh Norman versus Odell Beckham 2 in the game certainly did not disappoint, unless, of course, you're a Giants fan. There were 6 lead changes in the game, 5 in the second half. With under 2 minutes left and a chance to win it, Eli threw a pick to Sua Cravens and threw away the game, and Washington avoids an 0-3 start. For those of you keeping score on the matchup, within the matchup, Norman had no interceptions, and Odell Beckham Jr. had 7 receptions for 120 yards. Max.
Yep.
Did the Redskins win this, or did the Giants lose it?
Easy question with an easy answer. Giants lost it.
Yeah.
Clearly, the Giants lost this game. Oh, it's sour grapes. You're a Giants fan? Well, yeah, sure. It's sour grapes that I'm a Giants fan, and it's true. And it's true. Those things are not mutually exclusive. Look, there are times where Eli Manning gets blamed out of proportion. He is not afraid to lose. Therefore, he at times wins, like Super Bowl MVPs. 2 of them. Only 5 in history have done that because he's a gunslinger. And he tried to gunsling yesterday on some ill-advised passes and threw some interceptions. And not only that, Odell Beckham was beating Josh Norman on every single play. And when Eli recognized it, he threw him the ball. And when he threw the ball well, Odell would catch it. And when he underthrew it or threw it by, he missed Odell a couple times. And Norman had a pick and a would-be pick in the first quarter, a near pick. So Norman did his thing. He got into Odell's head. He affected the kind of tone of the game. And the Giants, you could say he disrupted them. I don't think that's not legitimate. But the fact is, the on-field play, the Giants were better than Washington. The behavior was the problem. Teams with penalties, over 10 penalties in a game, 10 or more this year, are 5-8. Giants had 11. Teams that give up 100 yards in penalties are 2-4. Giants gave up 128 yards. So that the 7 receptions by Odell Beckham for 121 yards on Norman, in spite of the fact that Eli frequently missed him or didn't see him, 120 were totally wiped away, and then some by the penalties, including Andrew Adams. Are you kidding me? Who is Andrew Adams? Who comes, I hate to pile on a guy, too, like a guy is not a big name, he does it, but oh my God.
Andy's from UConn, so we always root for them.
You basically are a walk-on. You're playing in, you wipe out, and the blocked punt recovery resulted at Giants ball on the 18-yard line in the 4th quarter in a game you're losing by a couple points, and you wipe that out? Richburg gets ejected. I mean, the first guy to be ejected on the 2 times, the double infraction rule. Your starting center ejected on that stuff. The Giants had no discipline. That falls on coach. How else do you say it? And it wiped out what have otherwise been, of course, it's always going to be competitive. It's the NFC East versus NFC East. But it wiped out what would have been a 3-0 start with 2 divisional wins for the Giants. They lost that game. They handed the game to Washington, Stephen A.
Well, it sounds good. It sounds good. I hear where you're coming from, and my sympathy and heartfelt condolences go out to you. Here's the deal. The bottom line is you got 3 times. You turned the ball over 3 times. You had 11 penalties. We get all of that, okay? The flip side to it is this, Max Kellerman. Kirk Cousins had 296 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over once. Remember that 31-yard hookup to Deshaun Jackson, and then after that, what was it, a 44-yard touchdown? I think it was like 75 yards in 2 plays or whatever the case may be. I mean, that set the tone. This is after you were up 21. This is after you were up 21-9. Then, if you recall, you have to take this into consideration as well. Final drive, Redskins ran the ball 7 times for like 39 yards. Well, where were the Giants? How come you didn't stop them? I think that's Redskins doing what they do. I mean, the fact of the matter is we lost faith in them because they started out 0-2. We lost faith in them because they seemed to shell themselves and they were pointing fingers. But faced with adversity, being down 0-2 on the season, on the road after losing their first 2 home games, they showed up, was down 21-9, and still came back. I don't think that's just about the 11 penalties, even though Richburg was an absolute idiot. What are you doing? Running downfield, blocking, hitting and blindsiding Josh Norman, and then in his face like, yeah, talking smack. First of all, you got him by about 100-plus pounds. And secondly, your blindside hit him. You hit him. And then on top of it all, it was downfield as after Odell Beckham Jr. put a move on Josh Norman that was just, oh, boy, was that sweet. No doubt about it. Even though OBJ put on a show, the fact is that I thought Josh Norman, for the most part, did a decent job. There were times when Odell Beckham Jr. got loose. There was no doubt about that. But there was times he was covered now, and there was times that Josh Norman was there. He did a pretty decent job with him, particularly when you consider the fact that D'Angelo Hall had to go out, Breland had to go out. Think about what kind of odds were stacked against them. Yet and still, they came back from a deficit. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't penalize themselves. They didn't beat themselves. When they needed to score, they did. When they needed to force a turnover, they did. 2 key interceptions. One was in the end zone by committed by Eli Manning. And then on top of it all, ultimately at the end, they engaged in ball control because they ran the ball effectively and kept the ball away from the Giants. Give credit where credit is due.
Well, you said they didn't beat themselves. They didn't beat the Giants either because ultimately the Giants did beat themselves. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. Look, did Josh Norman
Well, you
do a
weren't
good
playing
job?
shadow football. You were playing against somebody.
Did Josh Norman do a good job? Josh Norman's a good player. He did a very respectable job on Odell Beckham Jr., which is to say he got burnt consistently because no one's going to do that job one-on-one, sure. But his real value is as an irritant, as a guy who gets under your skin. He got under Odell's skin. He got under the Giants' skin. You want to credit them in that way for the Giants' misbehavior, I suppose. Oh, that's pretty bad. I think it's also that the league approaches Odell Beckham before the game and is like, if you do anything, we're going to throw you out of the game. And then Josh Norman picks him up and carries him. He's still in the game. I mean, he picked him up and carried him, and nothing happened. If Odell did that to Josh Norman, would he still have been in the game? So Odell was frustrated, partly also probably by his quarterback's play. Eli has been much sharper and has made much better decisions than that in the past. And yet and still, when you look at the classic definition of a team beating themselves, you would look at a team with 11 penalties for 128 yards in a 2-point game.
And I guess what I'm saying to you is this. Based on your synopsis, you can always look at the Giants as beating themselves instead of getting beaten based on what you're pointing out, because they do get a bit emotional. They do get a bit erratic. Eli with the interceptions, Odell Beckham Jr. with his emotions. And so and Richburg as well. So when you look at it from that perspective, you can sit up there and you'll always have the excuse. Why debate against the New York Giants all season long if every week you could come in and talk about how they beat themselves? Well, there comes a point in time where a team needs to be given credit for knowing what your Achilles heel is and facilitating you going that route to defeat yourself. The Redskins, I thought, did that yesterday because they didn't fold like cheap tents when they were down 21-9. They came back. They roared back. They stayed in the Giants' face. And on top of it all, had key turnovers that they forced at pivotal moments, not to mention the fact that when all was said and done, then they engaged in ball control. All of those things, to me, contribute to a team like the Redskins being given credit for them beating the Giants.
Lack of discipline can beat yourself. You want to credit the Redskins specifically, fine, but then that undermines your first point that you can always say this about the Giants, because so far this year, the Giants actually have been very disciplined in the first 2 games, which under McAdoo seemed like a departure from where they've been in the recent past. Maybe it was time for a new head coach. As much as Coughlin represented discipline, maybe he'd lost the ear of the team. Maybe they needed some fresh blood because, okay, now let's see what you got, and the penalties seem to go. And then Game 3 shows up, and McAdoo and the Giants, who were talking about this heading into the game because of Josh Norman, revert back to their old ways. So if you want to give Washington credit for this, because they were the ones to get under the Giants' skin, okay, fine, you can do that.
I appreciate that.
That's exactly what I want to do. You can give them credit for getting under the Giants' skin and therefore causing the Giants to beat themselves.
Well, you can say,
because it won Washington.
Listen, let me tell you something right now. Again, the facts speak for themselves because I highlighted what happened. No reason to regurgitate that. But the point is that the Giants again, if this is there, we were debating the Steelers just a minute ago.
Yeah.
What did we say? We talked about the Steelers and their performance being a complete aberration from what we've known them to be for years, not just the first 2 games of the regular season. Whereas with the New York Giants, Eli throwing interceptions. Is that really a surprise? Richburg getting himself ejected or getting penalized. Is that a surprise? Odell Beckham Jr. being emotional. Is that a surprise? No, that's who they are.
Eli not leading the fourth-quarter drive was a surprise. In fact, even on the broadcast.
There have been times when he's turned the ball over in the fourth quarter. Of course, he's had a long career, but even on the broadcast, they were saying, I think Joe Buck said, hey, number 10 is the last guy in the world you want to see if you're the other team in the 2 minutes or whatever it was, with the game on the line.
late in the fourth quarter, and Eli threw an interception in that case, I think he's much more likely to lead you on at least a field goal drive, which is all they needed. And what are we really talking about here? A 2-point loss where...
To a team that was 0-2, losing their first 2 games at home.
Where if you change any little thing, including Andrew Adams' penalty that has nothing to do with the play, that wipes out a fumble recovery on the 18-yard line, on the Washington 18-yard line, if you change anything like that, the Giants are 3-0 with 2 wins in the division, and yet you're telling me that this is not the Giants.
I think it was the Redskins. I think the Redskins deserve more credit than the Giants do. That's all.
But you don't walk away
saying
the Redskins are a way better team than the Giants. No, they're still comparable.
Yesterday's
in the mediocrity of the division.
I think they deserved credit for doing what they did. They were down 21-9. They came back.
Giants. Well, give them credit. That's all they really did.
But the point that I'm trying to, they did more than that. They won. Okay, they did more than irritate them. They won.
The Giants lost.
Yeah, the Giants lost.
Giants lost.
Yeah, Giants gave it to them.
All right, last word. Good morning. We start First Take on this Monday with devastating news from this weekend in the world of sports. Marlins 24-year-old superstar pitcher Jose Fernandez was killed in a tragic boating accident late Saturday night, and one of the greatest golfers of all time and the game's most beloved figure, Arnold Palmer, passed away on Sunday at the age of 87. Gentlemen, this was such heartbreaking news yesterday as these stories unfolded.
Well, in the case of Arnold Palmer, 87 years of age, an iconic figure in the world of golf, in the world of sports, period. Our hearts felt condolences obviously go out to his loved ones, his family. 87 years old, lived a wonderful life, gave us a lot of great moments. We appreciate all that he has done. In the case of Fernandez, 24 years of age, 24 years.
It's not fair.
Whole future ahead of him. A star, superstar in this league. Obviously the face of the Miami Marlins franchise. Just watching Dan Le Batard on SportsCenter crying, just seeing so many of our baseball.
Eduardo Perez.
Eduardo Perez as well. What can you say? I mean, it's just devastating.
Arnold Palmer lived a full life, 87 years old, and you always have to be greedy with life. It's never enough, and it's very sad that he passed, and he was the coolest guy and one of the biggest stars and helped popularize golf, and you can read all about it today, obviously. As Stephen A. said, heartfelt condolences out to his family and fans. Jose Fernandez, you know, so much has been said about the kind of person he was, which is, it's a testament to the kind of person he was, that so much has been said about that the kind of player he was has almost been lost in it all. And I watched also Dan Le Batard was a teary kind of tribute to him in a beautiful column that Dan Le Batard wrote about him and what he represented to Cuban Americans. But there's this relationship with baseball through numbers that helps people understand the game. I just want to say who Jose Fernandez through the numbers was as a baseball player, because not since Thurman Munson's tragedy, and I was a little kid, a great Yankees catcher passed, he was already in decline, but still, when tributes come on TV to this day, I explain it to my daughters, that was Thurman Munson, what he meant to me and the Yankees and everything. Jose Fernandez had not yet entered his prime. If you have an ERA below 3, you're in Cy Young contention. His lifetime ERA, 2.5. If your walks and hits to innings pitched whip is below 1.1, Cy Young contention. His lifetime whip, 105. If you strike out a guy in inning as a starting pitcher, you might lead the league in strikeouts. He threw 471 major league innings, struck out 589 guys. Had he stayed healthy, that's a lot to say, but he'd have been in the Hall of Fame. This guy was an exceptional star talent. But it's a testament to the kind of person he was that no one's even talking about it today.
Yep, and Jose Day and how the community all galvanized towards him in a spirit. One thing I want to add with Eduardo Perez, with Hannah Storm, one thing that really stood out to me is how it took him 3 tries to get over to this country. And in the middle of the night, when he's on a boat coming from Cuba, someone had fallen off the boat. He dove in. It turned out to be his mother, but it was completely dark. He didn't even know it was her and was willing to risk his life. Talk about character. So all of us here on First Take want to send our prayers and condolences to the family of both Jose Fernandez and Arnold Palmer. Our hearts going out to you.